I've seen things you people would never believe. Business deals on fire off the shoulders of Disney. I've watched bad remakes glistening in the shadow of original movies. All these moments will be here in the internet. Like theories of flat Earth. Time to start. Now, welcome back everyone to part 2 of Blade Runner Month. As I said last week, we're gonna do a review of the movie, but we're gonna do more. We'll also do comparisons between the different versions, because there's about 5 versions, as far as I know. Now, on to the review. We begin by seeing the world of Blade Runner. Los Angeles, November 2019. We see pyres of fire burning into the night sky. It is depressing, but at the same time, beautiful. We then see a vehicle that is known as the spinner car. Now it's called a spinner car because later on in the movie we see one of the spinner cars lift off from the ground. And in order to lift off from the ground, it rotates as it goes up. That's why it's called a spinner. Now we then see an eye. Now this eye is of course a reference to the book 1984, written by George Orwell in the year 1954. It is supposed to be a reference towards the all-seeing eye of Big Brother. Now unfortunately Big Brother has become this big giant thing. But we're not here to talk about celebrity, reality shows. The eye is of a man named Leon Kowalski. Leon Kowalski, as far as we know, is just a simple worker of Tyrell Corporations. But of course he's being carried off to the Tyrell Corporation's pyramid to be interrogated by William Holden. Now William Holden was played by Morgan Paul. An interesting fact about Morgan Paul is that he was the stand-in for our lead character, which we'll talk about later. Now, it goes rather simply in terms of the interrogation, but then Holden asks Leon about his mother. Leon decides to respond in the usual way of shooting Holden twice. Now, an interesting thing about this scene is that originally Leon was supposed to have a sort of like futuristic laser gun that he would shoot at him. Now, they didn't have time to complete the prop and the effects, but if you do a freeze frame at the right moment when he's shooting him, you can see the beginning of the effect. It's like a little white light on the end of the gun. And basically Holden's out. He's down for the count for the rest of the movie. He was in a deleted scene, which he's like in life support, but that's not important right now. We now go and see our hero of the story, Rick Deckard. Now, Admittedly, I had to read the book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which we'll get to next time, hopefully. Because, well, I had to read it in order to know his first name. Because as far as I know, and if I'm wrong, I'll show a scene in which he'll prove me wrong. But as far as I know, in the whole movie, you don't get to hear his first name. Ever. Now, just looking at him, at Rick Deckard, who is played expertly by Harrison Ford, we know what kind of person he is. He's alone, and he has nothing to live for. In one of the versions of the movie that includes voiceover, we find out that Deckard once had a wife, but, well, they constantly had arguments over, well, the work he did, because he was a Blade Runner. It is explained in an opening crawl, I guess, that Blade Runners are assigned to basically hunt down what are known as Nexus 6 replicants, who are deemed illegal on Earth. However, it's never called execution, it's called retirement. So they retire them. Unfortunately, Deckard's wife never saw it that way, because he would always see the blood on his clothing and on his face and his hands. She'd be like, you know, this is a terrible thing to do and all that. And he'd be like, but this isn't real blood. It's synthetic. It's not real. But she cannot deal with seeing that kind of imagery. So she leaves off-world with some hotshot guy, and, you know, has like, I think it says like there's a farm or something that they have together on that off-world colony, but I'll show you a scene of the voiceover in case I'm wrong. We now go on to another character named Gaff, who finds Deckard and tells him basically, hey, we need you right now. Captain Bryant wants to see you now. Now, of course, he doesn't say it in that particular way because he uses a particular way of speaking known as city speak. Now, city speak was derived as a sort of way of speaking in different languages all at the same time. A bit of Chinese, a bit of Hungarian, a bit of Japanese, maybe a bit of Spanish, a bit of French, just basically all over the place kind of thing. So, Deckard is brought over to the LAPD headquarters, and this effect shot was done just brilliantly though. It was done in a way that the set of the LAPD tower is like filmed kind of like at an angle to make it look bigger. And yes, I know this may look a little bit suggestive, but they film it that way to make it look bigger than it actually is, using what people like to call perspective. And so we then see Captain Bryant, who is played by W. Emmett Walsh, I believe. And he basically tells Deckard, alright, we need you to hunt down these. Well, originally there were 6 of these replicants. 2 of them got fried by an electric fence or something like that. And so only, I was showing 7. Okay, 6. 2 of them got fried on a like electric field thing. So there's only 4 remaining. 2 male, 2 female. We now see the introduction of all of these replicants. As we've seen before, there's Leon Kowalski. He is described as a sort of like a constructor type of replicant. who has minimal intelligence, but to deal with workloads, he has a pain tolerance that's very high. In fact, the only way you could possibly hurt him is to kill him. And as I said in the voiceover, he might not even feel that. Next we see Zora, who is a pleasure model that was converted into a combat model, who has moderate intelligence, and she has like fairly competent skills in combat. After that we see Pris, who is simply a pleasure model. Now her intelligence is actually fairly high. She's like the second most intelligent of the group. She's very athletic. She can do like gymnastic moves, as we see later on in the movie. But finally we go to the big cheese. Roy Batty, played by the late great Rutger Hauer. Oh, and by the way, Leon Kowalski was played expertly by the late great Breon James. Zora was played by Joanna Cassidy, and Pris was played by none other than Daryl Hannah, who quite a lot of us will know from being in the 2 Kill Bill movies. Whether there'll be a third one or not is still unknown. And of course she was in the movie Splash. Soon after, Deckard is sent over to the Tyrell Corporation. He is sent there to do a Voight-Kampff test, the same test that Holden used against Leon. But here, Deckard is sent to do the Voight-Kampff test on a person by the name of Rachel, a replicant who believes she is human. Now, Rachel was played by Sean Young. Quite a lot of you know Sean Young from being in the movie Stripes. We also unfortunately know that she has a few problems up here, let's just say. Now, the test takes a whole lot longer than it should, but Deckard still susses out that she is a replicant. Then in comes Eldon Tyrell, who of course was played by Joe Turkel. We all remember him from being the bartender Lloyd from The Shining. I could use a good drink right now. But anyway, Deckard decides to ask Tyrell, what's the big deal? What is she? Now, Tyrell is the type of person who plays his cards very close to the chest. Tries not to reveal too much, but tells her basically that she is an experiment, nothing more. More human than human is our motto. Turns out, of course, that he is using the memories of his niece to give Rachel memories in order to better control her emotions. Because if emotions can be controlled, the 4-year lifespan would not be required. This will have to be part 1 for now. Please stay tuned for part 2. See ya.